Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. A little while back, I mentioned in one of my live gameplay videos breaking down some meta loadouts that I made some adjustments to some of my aiming settings here, and I felt like I was frying. And I have since then received a ton of comments saying, Zach, what did you change with your aiming settings? What should I be running now? Are there any new updated settings I should be changing? And the answer is yes. I've adjusted some things lately that I feel like have definitely increased my aim over the past couple of weeks of playing for sure. And so with that today, I wanted to break down the best controller aiming settings you need to be running as of right now. So we're starting obviously in our controller aim settings to start things off. So the two categories we're paying attention to are the general controller settings and then also the basic aim settings as well. There's a lot of things just particularly in these two categories that are going to help out a lot. So obviously you want to be having your controller set as your input if you're going for controller aiming settings. As far as the button layout goes, I personally run tactical on my SCUF controller so that I can use my right stick to slide cancel, then I can use a back button to melee as a circle replacement. Although for most players, if you don't have a SCUF, if you have just a basic controller or maybe a different kind of controller with paddles or something, you can adjust this as needed. You could also just go through and manually rebind whatever you need to here. So if you want to change melee to a D-pad and something else like a ping to one of your standard buttons, you could do so just by rebinding those. And I think that's probably the best way to go if you don't just want to use a basic default layout like tactical, but this works great for me. I've been using this for like a decade plus, right? Bumper pings, I usually keep this as off, and I don't have a need to flip L1 and L2 and R1 and R2 because I do have digital triggers on my controller, so everything's pressing in the exact same. I don't mess with my stick layout, and I don't mess with controller vibration. You don't want to have this on. If you do have it on, you're just limiting yourself because you don't want your controller bouncing around, even if it's super minimal, when you're trying to make very precise, very minute adjustments with your aim to be accurate. Vibration's just going to hurt that. So absolutely turn that off. And then if you have a controller that has like haptics on the triggers, turn that off too. You don't want to have to be pressing in more to hold down the weapon and spray and pray, right? So definitely turn those off for convenience sake. Now, Deadzone inputs is by far the most important setting on this page. And honestly, you can make an argument for this being the most important setting in general for this entire video. And this is where I've made the biggest adjustment as of late. So when it comes to testing your dead zones, first things first, when you turn this on, you're going to see right now my circles, there's no input going on in the bottom there. When I move my sticks around, you'll see there's input obviously. And then when I take my hands back off, it goes to 0. If you need to test your dead zone and see if you do have stick drift or anything, you need to turn your left stick minimum to 0 and your right stick minimum to 0, and then go back to this test. And you can see right now when I'm not touching, my left stick has a little bit of stick drift, like 1%. And when I go through and I move this, I drop it back, you'll see my right stick actually has a little bit as well, about 2%, where the left stick goes back to 1. So I know that I need to change these up just above that value to make sure that I don't get any random stick drift here and there. The next thing you want to pay attention to is your stick maximums, how much you actually have to move your stick to end up getting the full benefit of going all the way to the left. And basically what I've done here is up until a few weeks ago, I was playing with my left stick max all the way out to 99 here, which as you can see on the graphic there, extends it so that when I do this dead zone test, I have to move my left stick all the way out on my actual controller to hit that far left of what the max stick is. However, if I go through and I drop this down to 60, which is what I've been playing on recently, this is going to make it so that when I move my stick, I don't have to go nearly as far to reach that maximum. It's a lot more convenient for trying to just activate that left stick in general. And what's super important about that is your left stick movement here, even if it's, 13% right now where I'm barely touching it, or even lower than that, I can mess around with a little bit. Any input that you're getting here on your left stick is going to trigger rotational aim assist, which is absolutely broken. It's overpowered, but it's the way to abuse gunfights and win more gunfights while using controllers. So by having left stick max here, I don't have to move my controller as much to activate that rotational aim assist, which just means it's going to feel a little bit more snappy and a little bit more aggressive in general in gunfights, which is a huge benefit to have. Also, for what it's worth, with your left stick min, some players like to have this at 0 so they can get a little bit of stick drift, and then rotational aim assist will technically always be active, right? So that's something to consider as well. Other than that, left trigger, right trigger, I have this at 0. I don't want to have anything blocking when I'm pressing down here. I want to have the quickest actuation point that I can. So that's important to have there as well. Now, as we get into the general aiming settings here, quick reminder, if you are new to the channel, every single day I got you covered with all things you need to know about Call of Duty, whether it's news, updates, tips, meta breakdowns. You'll find it here on a daily basis, so feel free to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date. And if you enjoyed this video, do me a favor and drop a like on it. It's always really appreciated. So for general sensitivity here, the vast majority of the top players you're going to see aren't going to go any lower than something around 5 or 6, and they're probably not going to go much higher than 10 or 11. So finding a nice middle ground there is super important. I like 8-7 staggered personally. You move around a lot more horizontally in this game than you do vertical, so I like to have that a little bit snappier, and then vertical is just a tad bit lower there. But 8-7 works for me. My best recommendation with finding the sensitivity that works for you is start low. Start at 5 or 6 and see how that feels. If it feels too slow, jump up to 6 or 7. If that feels too slow, jump up to 7 or 8. Keep going until you reach that point where, like, okay, this is a little too twitchy, and then drop it back down 1, and you probably found that spot you're going to be the most consistent with. Please do not jump on this game and constantly change your sensitivity. One day you're playing on 6-10, the next day you're playing on 8-7 or something. Stay consistent, because that's how you're going to perfect your aim over time. If you're constantly adjusting this, you're just resetting yourself almost, in a sense there. Sensitivity multiplier, I don't adjust anything here. I don't have a direct ADS sensitivity multiplier because I go through the custom settings, which we'll talk about in just a moment. I don't mess with the vertical aim axis at all. Attack stand sensitivity, I don't mess with that. Aim response curve type dynamic is what you'll see every single top player playing on right now. It's the most snappy and true feeling response curve that we have. Linear was the thing for a while, but like I said, pretty much every single player now, the top players, at least the pros, you're gonna be playing on dynamic. That said, you can adjust the slope scale for this. I personally don't mess with that because I'm comfortable with what it is as a default setting. Hey everyone, real quick, wanted to give a shout out to my friends over at Control Freak. I've been using Control Freak thumbsticks on my controllers for years now. Like, honestly, I feel like I can't play without them at this point. Getting that better grip on your thumbsticks, extending your range of motion, making it easier to be accurate and to stay accurate. Truly, it is a game changer. So if you ever want to pick up a pair for yourself, toss in code WhosImmortal at checkout and you'll get a nice little discount. The link for that will be down in the description below if you're interested. Sense multiplier focus, I keep at 1. I keep the transition timing of my ADS sensitivity at instant though. So the second I ADS, I'm into my ADS sensitivities, which I have custom per the zoom that I'm using. So low zoom is going to be something like the default iron sights. Those are what you typically use in close to mid-range engagements, with the few one-off examples of really good iron sights you'd use for long range, like let's say the Grau iron sights from back in the day. Those are something you'd use at long range. Pretty much that's always reserved for like SMGs and close range weapons though, and I like to have that a little bit slower. That way I can be super precise. I'm not going to twitch or like overshoot anyone when I'm ADSing. It keeps me on my target really consistently, and I just basically gradually increase this as the zoom goes out more. So for 2 to 3 times I'm up to 0.85. 4 to 5 times I keep that the same. Those are typically pretty similar zooms. Out to 6 to 7 times we're talking sniper scopes now. I like to have it a little bit higher, and the reason for that is as I go up to 8 to 9 and high zoom for sniper scopes, keeping it up at 1 is because when you zoom in, the more zoom you have, the longer it's going to take to move from zoom point A to zoom point B. If you're trying to go from, let's say, a doorway to a wall on a low zoom optic, it's going to be easier to transition because you're not as zoomed in. The more zoomed in you are, the more ground you have to cover technically, and the slower your ADS is there means you're not going to be able to keep up with players as fast as you need to. So having this gradually increase over time makes it so that you're going to be more accurate close range, mid range, and long range. That's super, super important. Target aim assist, keeping that on of course. Aim assist type, recently I have actually switched back from Black Ops to default. I cannot sit here and tell you, hey, I switched to default and I immediately noticed a difference, because I don't. You want to use default or you want to use Black Ops, as we know and as it's been proven over the years, these are the best 2 aim assist types for the best rotational aim assist, but also the most natural and smooth feeling aim assist as well. So whichever one you want to use, go for it. I cannot definitively say I notice a difference between these two, but currently I'm on default and I feel like I'm frying, so I'm sticking with it. ADS aim assist doesn't matter because it's only for single players, so you could turn this off and it make no difference. Third person correction type, I keep on the basic assist, and then also for motion sensor aiming, this is like gyro aiming. This is its own specific niche thing. Some players are really good at this. The vast majority of us probably are not. So it's like its own sort of niche thing and not really used in any competitive sense, except for those players who have really honed in on that niche and are incredibly good at it. So no need to mess around with that stuff, but really focusing in on your sensitivities per zoom, obviously your aim assist types and your curve type there, then really messing around with your dead zone inputs to make sure that's all correct. Getting that stuff right is really going to improve your aim right away. And then as you become more accustomed to the feeling, you're going to get better and better over time, more snappy, more consistent with your tracking and everything over time as well. So those are the things you want to look out for now when it comes to perfecting your aim settings. Hopefully this video helped you out. If it did, do me a favor, drop a like on it. And if you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your way out. That'll wrap things up. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy. Have an awesome rest of your day. And I'll catch you later. Peace out.